Wake up, you ain't heard the news. Thank you for joining me on this special edition of the Fast Break Sports Hour. It's Monday, August 19th, 2018. And last night was SummerSlam, hence the John Cena shirt to my left hand side. And yeah, I'm a big WWE fan. I watch all sports, and yes, I consider WWE a sport. Why? Because these dudes are athletic. They're out there night in, night out, putting their bodies on the line, and I respect that. These dudes are athletes. I respect them, man. Just like I respect the NFL football player, a Major League Baseball player, an Olympian. These dudes are actually out there more so than all these other athletes. Not to say these other athletes don't condition themselves daily, but these guys are on the grind, on the road, over 300 days out of the year, you know, and doing multiple shows a week, putting their bodies on the line. So I respect that. I've been watching wrestling since I can remember, probably 4 years old. I remember watching the WrestleMania 3. I don't think I was watching it live, but back then there was no pay-per-view for us. It was wait for the pay-per-view or the WrestleMania to come on the video, and then rent it at your local. I don't even know, was Blockbuster even there? And that was like 1987, probably. But you rented it at your local video store, and you watched it as if it was live. There wasn't no Raw. There wasn't like a weekly show that you can watch. They had like Superstars on the weekend. If y'all remember that, it was more so kind of like an update show. And then they would have like the main wrestler go against a nobody. So Chewy says he can't hear me, but I think it might be him. I don't know. Can you hear me or not? Let's see here. Let's hope he can hear me. That would suck if y'all can't hear me. Man, let me check it out real quick. So let me do some self-sufficient. Let's see here. Find out. See if I can hear myself. Let's see. Let's go to my thing. See if I'm going on. Let's see here. Can I hear myself? Yeah, I can hear myself. It's your thing, Chew. You got to put the volume up, man. What you doing? Man. So see, I was able to check it out. I could hear myself. So I'm happy. I'm glad now. Thanks for having me check it out, though, Pops. I see you looking out. But again, getting back to wrestling, was watching SummerSlam last night. Again, been watching it since I was a kid. There was a little time there after the whole Raw is War, WWE Attitude era where I stopped watching it for like 6, 7 years. Got right back into it in 2009. Been nonstop ever since. And yeah, I mean, last night's show was a little bit better than what I expected. When I saw the card, I was like, kind of iffy on some of these matches. Still kind of the AJ Styles Samoa Joe match. It was a great match, but I hated the way they ended it. I feel like they could have had a better ending. I'm tired of having these big matches end in disqualifications or countouts. They did that with AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura because they couldn't get a finish, and that's what it seemed like. And they sent like, and it felt like they were taking a safe way out. Like, have somebody pin somebody else, and if you wanted to have a rivalry, then have them pin them next time. But it's more so like, well, we can't have AJ Styles beat Samoa Joe, and vice versa. So let's make it. Come on, it's SummerSlam. Let's get some sort. If it's cheating or whatnot, I want a decision, a real decision, not a disqualification. You can't change titles with a disqualification. And I know a lot of you out there are going to be like, it's fake, right? I understand. I understand that wrestling is not rehearsed, but they know the outcome. But they're still putting their bodies on the line. They're doing some crazy ass moves, and you got to respect that. I understand that they know who's going to win, and these dudes probably have a beer after the match together. I understand all that. It's not about that. It's about putting on the show. It's about making the storyline work. And to me, that didn't work. Ronda Rousey, former UFC champion, she's now in the Hall of Fame for the UFC. And she wins the women's WWE title, Raw women's WWE title. She just manhandled Alexa Bliss. I kind of felt like that was kind of messed up. They should have made, Alexa Bliss look a little bit better than what she did. But Ronda Rousey just dominated her. And She looks like she's going to be like the female version of Brock Lesnar, to where it's going to be tough to take that belt off of her. But well-deserved. Ronda Rousey, the new women's WWE Raw champion. And finally, speaking of Brock Lesnar, they finally took the belt off Brock Lesnar. I couldn't stand that, man. Dude was part-timing, was showing up for 5 or 6 matches a year, and then he had the belt for almost 2 years. That's, well, not over 500 days. That's long enough. Over 500 days, a champion, probably had 6 to 8 title matches in that time. That's not cool, man. That's not, you the WWE champion. I expect you to be on Raw every week. So finally, he lost the belt. Roman Reigns, the champion, deservedly so. A lot of you people don't like Roman Reigns. I love Roman Reigns because, again, he's a fighter. He's a dog, man. He's in there and he's battling every week, so I could respect that. You know, he's getting a little bit better on the mic. You got to give him that. You know, he's more of a low-tone voice kind of guy. He's not too exciting or whatnot when he comes on the mic, but that's what he do. I mean, that's just his persona. But he runs that square circle like he says. He's the new big dog in that yard. That's his yard, the square circle. So, you know, I don't want to get too much into it. And my opening was Becky Lynch's theme song. I love Becky Lynch, man. She's awesome. I kind of wish she would have won the championship, but she didn't. You know, she turned heel, which I like. Becky Lynch, man. I wish she didn't have a boy, but it's all right. That's a whole different thing. But again, Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler, they stole the show. They keep stealing the show. First match, they stole the show. Seth Rollins, the Intercontinental Champion again. Pretty sure there's some other matches I left out. Shinsuke Nakamura, Jeff Hardy. That was a pretty good match there. Shinsuke keeping the title as he should. He actually should be higher in the rankings. He should be going for that belt again, but it's all good. SummerSlam was off the chain. I loved it. I love wrestling. That's what I do. But let's get into these more, what you would call, daily sports, real sports. Well, WWE is a real sport to me. I don't care what nobody says. That's a real sport. You coming off the top, bam, elbow, cut you right open, right, split the face. That don't matter. Let's get right to baseball. Man, I say this every 2 or 3 days. It's been a crazy last 2 or 3 days of baseball. Man, it seems like the National League race, it continues to gain momentum, and you have half of these teams that are making runs, and the other half are kind of just 500. Treading water, really not doing anything to make a move, which is giving the opportunity to teams like the St. Louis Cardinals, the Colorado Rockies. Those two teams have been rolling lately. I'm talking about the Colorado Rockies have won 8 of 9. Man, that's putting them in position. Had the Arizona Diamondbacks not come up with that clutch home run in the 8th, clutch home run in the 9th to come back and beat the Padres, you'd be looking at the Rockies in first place in the National League West. But the Diamondbacks were able to come back, get that victory, take 3 out of 4 from the Padres. So you have to give them credit for finishing off the Padres 3 out of 4 and still maintaining that half-game lead over the Colorado Rockies. And speaking of the National League West, and actually let me stick with the Rockies. Again, won 8 out of 9. They swept the NL East leading Atlanta Braves. That was incredible because they did it in Atlanta. Atlanta Braves were the second best team in the National League. Record-wise, they still continue to be the second best team in the National League. That just shows how impressive the Rockies have been of late. Again, 8 of 9, swept the Braves in a 4-game series. That first game, they had to come back and win. That second game was more so all Rockies. The Saturday game, they were down 3-0 in the 9th inning, and they scored the 3 runs in the 9th inning to tie the game 3-3, send that game to extras, in the 10th inning, what's his name? DJ LeMahieu. He hit a home run, and he actually had a big weekend, hit a home run in the 10th, and they were able to come back, beat the Braves on Saturday to get the 3rd win, and then yesterday holding off the Braves, beating them 4-2, completing the sweep. The Rockies, man, I don't know. Like, that's a team you do not want to play right now. The Cardinals are a team you do not want to play right now. The Cardinals, speaking of the St. Louis Cardinals, they're 17-6 last 23. That's that. When you're talking about that span of games. So if you look at it, when they went 17-6, speaking of the St. Louis Cardinals, 25 days ago, the St. Louis Cardinals were a 500 baseball team. So with that 17-6 run, they're now 11 games above, and they're only half a game out of that last wild card spot. Speaking of that wild card spot, man, the National League wild card positioning is just stupid right now. So you have actually three teams tied for the two wild card positions in the National League. You have the Phillies at 68-56, the Rockies at 68-56, and the Brewers are 69-57. So they have one more win and one more loss, but percentage points are the same. And those three are tied for the last two spots in the wild card. So then right after that, you got those three. Obviously, they're not. Who knows? I don't think three teams are going to stay tied. Maybe two. You're going to have the wild card, the first wild card. I believe that's going to be separated, and then you might have 2 and 3. They might be tied, but to have three teams tied for the one spot, that's what I was trying to say. I don't think you're going to have three teams tied for the one spot when it's all said and done, but that's what you have. Three teams tied for that number one wild card. And then from there, the Cardinals are on the outside looking in half a game out of the National League wild card. And then the Dodgers are 1.5 out of the wild card and 2 whole games out of the division. So again, these teams can get in division-wise if they win their division or by the wild card. And the last two teams, the Cardinals and the Dodgers that are out, they have a 3-game series coming up starting today. Today, Tuesday, Wednesday. Man, whoever gets 2 out of 3, or if any of these teams are able to sweep, they're going to put themselves in a better position and kind of push that other team away a little bit. So, I mean, you have big matchups going on starting today. You also have let's see here. So you have the Dodgers going against the St. Louis Cardinals today in Los Angeles. That's a good thing. But they're not going to have Kershaw because Kershaw pitched last night. The Dodgers were able to beat the Mariners last night 12-1, fairly easy. You finally got those runs for Clayton Kershaw and getting that victory and taking 2 out of 3 from the Mariners. That was big. That's what I had mentioned, that the Dodgers needed to get 2 out of 3 from the Mariners. They did that. They actually could have swept the series, but we'll talk about that a little bit later as to why they didn't sweep that series. But back to the big games that are starting today. You have Atlanta that's going to go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's out of the wild card, but they're still going to be a fighting team. They're a 500 team. They're playing at Pittsburgh, and the way the Braves have been playing lately, you just never know. You can see the Pittsburgh Pirates giving them trouble and bringing those Braves back down to the rest of the group. Again, all these teams are just stacked. They're just all compiled up. The Philadelphia Phillies, they also have a big series against the Nationals. The Nationals, again, they're 1 game under 500. Both the Nationals and the Pirates, if you looked at it starting last week, were still in the hunt, but they had bad weeks, so they're both out. Pirates, Nationals, personally, I think they're out. They're both over 5 games back of the leading wild card positioning, so I believe that's a little bit too much now, especially with all these teams going head-to-head. So the Braves, Phillies, they start a big series starting today at Pittsburgh, at Washington, respectively, and the Phillies are only a half game behind the Braves in the East, just to let you in on that division. In the Central, the Cubs, they still have the number 1 spot, and they're 3 games ahead of the next best team in the National League. So the Cubs, I think if you look at the National League as a whole, the Chicago Cubs are probably the only team that I can say are in for sure, because obviously they have the best record, and the next closest team is 3 games behind them. They have the number 1 spot, so that's a good position for them. I don't see them falling out of the division lead, and or if that were to happen, them losing out on a wild card spot. So the Cubs, to me, are the surest thing that a sure thing can be in the National League. But then from there, you look at the Braves and the Phillies in the East, the Brewers and the Cardinals in the Central, and then the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, and the Dodgers in the West. That's 7 teams that are going to be fighting for 4 spots. And that's it. Those 7 teams fighting for the last 4 spots, whether it be the last 2 division spots and the 2 wild card spots. So it's going to be crazy because these teams, they have a lot of games against each other. So it's going to be battled out within these best these best 7 teams and made it. Man, that's how you want things decided. You want games. You want positioning decided by having to beat the team that's trying to get to the same spot you are. So man, all these teams are going to be facing each other at some point or another. More so inside their division with the Brewers and Cardinals. They actually just had a 3-game series, and the Cardinals took 2 out of 3. The Brewers were able to get that third game yesterday, or else the Cardinals would have swept. So the Brewers, one of those teams, they're just hanging around 4-6 in the last 10. The Braves, another team, hanging around, got swept by the Rockies. Phillies, hanging around, really ain't doing much. Dodgers, hanging around, unfortunately, but they're just 4-6 in the last 10. So they're just hanging around. Diamondbacks, they got the lead in the NL West slightly. They're just hanging around. They're not doing too much to separate themselves because the Rockies aren't letting them. The Colorado Rockies are not letting them. And I know I'm going back and forth, but that's how crazy the National League is. You have to pay attention. Man, National League, East, West, Central, it's crazy. The wild card race is crazy. We're going to have some tiebreakers. I'm telling you. This is probably one of the best years since they added the second wild card team. Baseball is licking their chops right now. Baseball is doing it right. And man, let me get back to the NL West. So the Diamondbacks, I was hoping the Padres would get the split. And yeah, I'm biased when I say I'm hoping, but I'm going to tell you how it is. The Diamondbacks were able to get 3 out of 4. It should have been a split, but they were resilient enough to get that 8th and 9th inning solo home runs to win the game. So they're able to stay in first place. The Dodgers, as I said earlier, got 2 out of 3 in Seattle. They should have swept Seattle. That second game on Saturday, they were down 4-1, and they were able to come back in the 9th inning, tie the game 4-4, send that game to extras. So you're saying, you know what, momentum's on LA side. So the 10th inning comes up, Dodgers, they don't get nothing done. It's still 4-4. Bottom of the 10th, here we go. Man. We got a hit, we got a walk. So now there's 1 out. We have a runner on third, a runner on first, and again 1 out. It's 4-4, bottom of the 10th, and you're saying, okay, what's going to happen here? He walks the next batter. So now you got bases loaded. So you're saying, is he going to walk in the last run, or are they going to get a sac fly? No, the pitcher gets called for a balk. And the third, obviously the runner on third base gets to go home. And that's how the game ends, on a pitcher's balk. Something that you learn in Little League that you're not supposed to do. I don't know the exact ruling for a balk. I think you can't make a movement going forward. You have to step off. And they said he was moving forward and then stepped off. So you can't really do that. You're kind of tricking the runner. And it was slightly, you couldn't I'm a Dodger fan, so I'm going to say you really couldn't tell. But there wasn't much of a fight put up by Dave Roberts. So they all understood it was a balk. It's just a bad way to lose a game. The Dodgers should not have lost the game on a balk. They came back, lost it because of that. Oh, man, what a mistake. What a mistake in a big game. Because if you look at it, if they're able to pull that win out and sweep the Mariners, the Dodgers are in a little bit better position. Not 2 games behind the Diamondbacks, but 1. Not 1.5 out of the wild card, but half a game. So now it's going to be vital that the Dodgers take 2 out of 3. For you Dodger fans, it's vital that they take 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals. That, make no bones about it. This is a big series. And as the time continues to progress in the season, as these games continue to roll on, each series is going to be the most important series. But this one even much more so because you're talking about the Cardinals. You're talking about one of the hottest teams in baseball. You're talking about a team that was 500 a little over 3 weeks ago, who was 6-7 games out of the wild card. Now they're half a game out with that 17-6 run. And now again, half a game out of the wild card and getting closer to their division. They're 4 games behind the Cubs in their respective Central Division. But the Cardinals and then the Rockies, 2 hottest teams. I would say in baseball, obviously the Red Sox have done what they've done. And speaking of the American League and hot teams, the Oakland Athletics, when we spoke on Friday, we talked about Oakland and Houston. Well, I talked about, but I say we because we all together. Whoever's watching, we a team. Y'all my people. But the Oakland Athletics had a series against the Astros, a big series. So they were 2 games out of the lead starting Friday evening, and they took the first game and they took the second game and they tied the Astros up on top of the division. And that's crazy to say because if you look at the standings, if you just go back a month, the A's were not close to the Astros. They were not in shouting distance. So the A's have been on a roll lately, and they were able to tie the Astros atop the division. But then Verlander and the Astros were able to get that third game. So now the Astros are 1 game ahead of the Oakland Athletics. And either way you cut it, I believe both teams are going to make the playoffs. But I think you much rather want to be the division champ because you don't want to have that 1 game playoff. You guys already know my opinion on that 1 game playoff. It's garbage. It's trash. It's everything that you don't like that smells bad. That's what that 1 game playoff is. No good. Get rid of it. They got to change that into a 3 game series. Have it. I've said this before. The 2 wild card teams need to have a 3 game series, have the first 2 games at the better records home, and if the team that's on the second place wild card team, if they're able to split, send that 3rd game over to their place and see what happens in that game 3, or vice versa. If they're able to win both games on the road, obviously they continue, or if that best team wins the first, just make it a 3 game series. That's what you got to do. That's what's going to make this 2 wild card team better. If not, all it is just what they used to do or what they still do, but what it was more so used for. There was 1 wild card a few years back, and if 2 teams tied for the wild card, then they would have that 1 game playoff. You're basically doing the same thing. So if you're going to add 2 wild card teams, don't do this halfway pregnant bull. No one's halfway pregnant. You're full pregnant or not. You're going to do this full 2 wild cards. Give them a 3 game series. Have the winner of the 3 game series go against the number 1 team. Make baseball perfect. That would make it perfect. I mean, it's cool to have 2 wild cards, but it'd be perfect if you had 3 game series. Doesn't make sense to have a 1 game. Because look at this. The Yankees are going to be one of the wild cards. That's a fact. That's not nothing we're talking about here. That's a fact. It's one of those things that hasn't happened, but it's a fact. They're going to be one of the wild card teams. And then whoever that second wild card team is, the Astros or the A's, that's a great matchup. How are you only going to have 1 game to decide that and knock one of those teams out? And I know if there's any Seattle Mariner fans out there that are watching this, you're like, well, we're still in it. Yeah, you are. But you're 4.5 out of the division lead, and you're 3.5 out of the wild card. It was a big series against the Dodgers. You should have got swept, but you lost. You lost a series 1-2, in your respective point of view, and just my respective opinion, if that makes sense. The Mariners are not going to be in this wild card run. It's going to be the A's, the Yankees, and the Astros. So basically, I'm telling you who's going to be in the playoffs, but it's just positioning. So again, you got to fix that. Let's get a 3 game series going for the wild card. I don't see that changing anytime soon, but that would make a lot more sense than just having a 1 game playoff. I mean, because look at it last year. When you had both the Rockies and the Diamondbacks make it as wild cards, and it was a hell of a game, and they played 1 game. And unfortunately for one team, they had to go home, and the Diamondbacks were able to move on and get swept by the Dodgers. But imagine if that was a 3 game series. Oh, man, you could have seen that go 3 games. Major League Baseball be making more money, more fans because of the drama. And obviously the owners will love it because they're going to make more money. It makes too much sense. And that's probably why they haven't done it, because it makes too much sense. But that's all I'm going to say about the wild card. in both leagues. But man, big series. And speaking of big, I spoke on the Mariners, and yeah, they're only 3.5 out of the wild card. But this is it. They have a series against the Astros. So if you're able to win this series against the Astros, then I might change my tune a little bit. But I don't see that happening. I see the Astros getting 2 out of 3, if not sweeping the Mariners, and then especially pushing them back a little bit and putting them where they belong. But like I said, to me, the American League is set. Obviously, the Red Sox are the best team in baseball. They're actually going to have a playoff preview starting tonight with the Boston Red Sox going against the Cleveland Indians. Right now, the way they're seated, that's the matchup you're going to get, the Red Sox and the Indians. And that's almost a sure thing. So take what you want from that series that's going to start tonight, but that's a playoff preview, a real playoff preview. So Red Sox, Indians, and both teams have been on a tear. You know, obviously the Red Sox, best team in baseball, 51 games, over 500. That's ridiculous. That's nuts. That's wonderful if you're a Red Sox fan. But man, that's you don't see that too much in baseball when a team is 51 games above 500. That's absurd. But you'll see that tonight. 3-game series. Red Sox, Indians. Gonna be a hell of a series. So those teams are gonna be in the playoffs. The Yankees, like I said, they're gonna be the number 1 wild card spot. They're in the playoffs. And then the other wild card is gonna be the Astros or the A's. Excuse me. Yeah, the Astros or the A's. And then obviously the other one is the division champ. So there you have it. Those are the 5 teams that are going to be in the playoffs. Now it just depends on which 2 is going to be the wild card. You know, so that's the American League. Nationally, like I said, the only team I know for sure that's in is the Cubs. That's it. Everyone else, anything could happen. I could be here next week talking about how the Dodgers are in first place or in the wild card. I'll take either or. I don't mind having that 1-game playoff. I put Kershaw in that 1-game playoff. See what happens. Shoot, I don't mind playing the Cubs and beating that team in the wild card and then going against the Cubs. I'll do that all day, every day. You know what I'm saying? So either way you cut it, National League is just incredible. Every freaking day is like this. These teams are just flip-flopping. 6 more weeks left in the season. There's no reason why, if you're a baseball fan, or even if you're just a casual baseball fan, there's no reason why you shouldn't be tuning in at least to your favorite team in your hometown, whatever you do. I'm in Arizona, but I'm a Dodger fan, always have been, always will be. And I work, but I'll be able to catch like the last 3 or 4 innings of that Cardinals and Dodgers game. Yeah. And my mom and pops, they're actually driving from Mexico, from El Paso, to here, Arizona. And they should be here in about a few hours. So my mom's going to be locked on that game. My dad will be peeking, but my mom going to be locked on that game. She's a big Dodger fan. Shout out to my mom and pops. Be safe on the road. You know how we do. Man, shout out to everybody that's just watching. I appreciate any support that I get. Either way, I'm doing this for the love of it. I do it my way. That's the only way I know how. I love sports. I've been loving sports. And that's baseball for you. So again, if you guys like this, subscribe, comment, like, whatever. Whatever it is. If you're watching this, I do this more so because I love it. But if you guys can take anything from it, whether it's just an entertaining value, I'm learning you something, then it's cool. But if not, it's all right. Man, I'll do this anyway. And with that being said, that's what we have on the baseball front. I really can't say much about what's going on in baseball because I gave you everything. And whether it was all scattered everywhere, it doesn't matter because I gave you the information. And that's how crazy it is. I felt like I was like everywhere talking about the National League. I was talking about this team, then I jumped over to that team. But that's how it is. That's why you got to tune in to this National League race and just baseball in general. But let's smoothly went from SummerSlam to Major League Baseball races. Let's smoothly go into the Kahuna, the King of Kings, the NFL. Let's talk a little NFL here. And let's start off with the rule that changed NFL fans' lives forever. This new helmet rule that they installed or changed or revised, whatever they did, it is nonsense. This is the worst thing ever. This is worse than the anthem bull sugar. Yes, this is worse than the anthem. I've seen in these first 2 weeks so many nonsense flags because a guy got tackled and his shoulder hit the other guy somewhere in this area, or the bottom part of his helmet hit somewhere after the hit, or because it looked like it was too hard of a hit, or because it looked like the guy hit him with the helmet. And I saw that at least 4 times just on what I watched. 15-yard penalties, changing drives. Some of these happened when it was third down, keeping drives going. So I don't know if this is like a strategic plan from the NFL to make sure teams score 40 points a game. But if that's what they're trying to do, this is the ultimate bull sugar. I don't like this whatsoever. I don't understand what's a good tackle. For instance, I was watching the highlights of the Minnesota Vikings Jacksonville Jaguars game. And backups were playing. And I don't remember the guy's name, but from the Minnesota Vikings, a defensive pass rusher goes in looking like he has a free shot at the quarterback. Quarterback still has the ball in his hand, makes a normal tackle, lands on top of the quarterback, and then out comes a flag. And I'm like, what the heck is that? What is he supposed to do? If this is going to flag football, just let us know. Because I'll stop watching right now. Because that's what it seems like. Because you guys have been protecting the quarterback for a long time, which I've accepted, which a lot of fans and a lot of defenders have accepted. You can't hit him below the knees, and you can't hit him above the chest. You have to hit him somewhere in like the third abdomen right here. That's the only place you can hit him, and it can't be with your helmet. And if you do hit him, make sure you tell him you're taking him to the ground and make sure he knows ahead of time. Make an appointment with the ground and him and tell him he's going to be on the ground in about half a second, and that's the only way it's legal. Like we were already used to that. Now you can't even sack a quarterback. That's a flag. Why don't you just say, if a defender can go to the quarterback while he has the ball and touch him with 2 hands, he's down. That's what it looks like. Because you can't tackle him, you can't sack him, you can't take him to the ground. God forbid you land on him. What are you supposed to do? So if the NFL wants a defender to go to the quarterback, hit him with the shoulder in this area, but just hit him, because you can't wrap him up. Because if you land on him, it's a flag. So you hit him with the shoulder, and then a big quarterback like Cam Newton is able to shake you off and then take it around the corner for 20 yards. Who's going to get cut? Who's not going to have a job because they didn't take him to the ground? The defender. So I don't know what they're asking these defenders to do. I like seeing games sometimes where it's 10-7. As long as it's not bad offense and it's outstanding defense. I don't mind seeing the Jacksonville Jaguars go against the Denver Broncos and it's fourth quarter and the game is 9-6 because these defenses have been too rough on each other. That's what football is for. That's why you got 2 sides. But it just seems like they want all these games to be above 28 points. No matter what. Even if a team does not deserve it. I watched the whole Denver Bronco Chicago Bear game. And I saw 3 of these flags called. And not one of them was deserving. For what the rule is, no. You looked at the replay and it's like, that better not be a flag in the regular season. And the reason why I say that, because I'm hoping that this is just a preseason thing. I'm hoping they just throw them these flags for everything in the preseason to kind of put their message across. And hopefully in the regular season, it doesn't look like this. But if it looks like this in the regular season, that's all we're going to talk about every Monday and Tuesday. Every Friday morning after Thursday night game. That's all we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about, Khalil Mack, if he signs, 3 sacks and getting that game-winning strip sack We're not going to talk about Adrian Peterson, who signed with the Washington Redskins today, running for 100 yards. Like, oh my God, he ran for 100 yards. We're not going to talk about Julio Jones catching 8 receptions for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. We're not going to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo and his perfect passer rating, throwing for 320 yards and 4 touchdowns and leading the 49ers to a 5-0 record. We're not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about why this game was lost, because the game was 28-27, and the team that was down by 1, it was 3rd and 8, and the guy got stopped short of the line of gain, but because the guy rubbed his helmet on his shoulder, it was a 15-yard penalty. Now they get an easy field goal. Game over. That's what we're going to talk about, because this rule makes no sense. This is worse than the catch rule, where it was like, what's a catch? No one knew what a catch was. One week this was a catch. The next week there is no way that's a catch. This helmet rule is ridiculous. Even when asked, one of the head referees that is now retired, oh man, Mike Pereira, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he's well known. They asked him about this rule, and he's like, I don't know what it means. I don't know how to define it. I can't tell you what is and what isn't. So when you have the old school head of officiating, who now just does, shows on the side, who does, the Fox games, and they'll ask for his opinion on a certain penalty. He'll be in the box of certain games. When he doesn't know, a highly renowned official, well respected, doesn't know what this rule means or how to define it and or use it in a game, we have issues. Now, if you say, if the rule says, and this is what you're doing, a defender and or an offensive player cannot lower their head and hit with the crown of their helmet, I get that. I'm all for that. But if I get tackled right here and the guy's helmet's right here, because where is he going to put his head? I don't get it. Is he going to detach his head and say, I'm going to hit you? But that's just football. I mean, I'm sorry. Like I said, this is going to get to flag football, and no one's going to watch. Nobody's going to watch. You guys are getting real close to messing things up. So that's one thing that I've seen too much in preseason, and I'm speaking from the heart. In that game, it happened twice for the Denver Broncos, and I am a Bronco fan, but I didn't like it. I didn't want to get those first downs. It felt like I didn't deserve the first downs. It felt like the Broncos didn't deserve those first downs. And it's like, you don't want that in the game. And vice versa. It helped the Chicago Bears on the play as well. It doesn't make sense. And it happened multiple times in other games throughout the week. And this is the second week it's happened, obviously, because it's the second week of the preseason. But again, I'm hoping they're just doing this to test it out, and they lay back in the regular season, please, because I'm not going to be watching football if this is what it's leading to. People are not going to watch football because every tackle's flagged. That's what it is. I'm not sugarcoating anything. I'm not making things up. I'm not making a big thing out of nothing. 90% of these flags are just regular tackles. That's ridiculous. As I wipe the sweat from my brow because I'm so upset. I'm so stressed. They keep making the NFL. It's like they're testing our love for the NFL. Why do that? It was perfect already. And you started making rules for the quarterback because we don't want to see nobody get hurt. Then don't play football if you don't want these guys to get hurt. This is what football is. Make the helmets better. I understand that. Don't hit the quarterbacks after they release the ball at a certain point. I get all that. Don't launch yourself at somebody with your helmet. I get that. But don't tackle somebody. I don't get that. Because that's what it is. You can't tackle. And again, that's If that's what I'm talking about, that's the first thing I'm talking about when it comes to football. That's not good. It makes for a great conversation, I guess, but it's not good if that instead of me talking about Patrick Mahomes' 69-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill like it was nothing, on a dime. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the stupid rule because that's what it is. It's a ridiculous rule. I don't like it, man. Nobody likes it. I haven't heard one person that's talked about this say, that's a wonderful rule. And they're right on. This makes the game so much better. Party on. Nobody likes this rule. Not because we're all barbarians and savages and this, that, and the other. No, because it's football. People got to tackle people to get them on the ground. You have the ball, you got to bring them down. You got to do whatever by any means. You can't grab them by the face mask. That's a rule. We know that. You can't horse collar. That's a rule. We know that. But you can't tackle them because the tackles seem too fierce. You know how big these running backs are that are running down the field? How you supposed to, sir, can you please lay down for me because I don't want to hit you too hard. Man, it's whatever. Man, but I mentioned Adrian Peterson. I'm getting off my little soapbox thing, talking about the rule thing, but they better change that. Man, they better change that. You're going to make me cuss on here. I'm already peed off, man. Jesus. But I spoke on Adrian Peterson. He signed with the Washington Redskins today, and rightfully so, because the Redskins have had injuries in the backfield. Not just with Darius Geis, the second round pick, the highly heralded second round pick that was going to be the workhorse, but also this last week they had injuries to Byron Marshall and Samaje Perine, both of them with ankle injuries. None of them are going to be out for the season. They should be back somewhere towards the beginning or early on in the regular season. But with just Rob Kelly and Chris Thompson still hasn't played. Again, he's coming off an injury from last year. They had to do something, and Adrian Peterson was the best option for them. And let's talk about Adrian Peterson a little bit. Obviously, last year, what happened with the Saints at the beginning, with them basically saying, you know what, we have this covered with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, rightfully so. That duo was incredible, especially Alvin Kamara, man. That dude, he's awesome. He's awesome, but he was pushed away from the Saints, and then he went to Arizona. He was a guy that's going to get 20 carries for 63 yards, and that's where he's at right now. Now, does that mean he can't have maybe one game where he has 25 carries and 100 yards and a touchdown? He could do that. He could do that once. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that he's going to carry that team, now I do like to have Alex Smith because Alex Smith is great for these kind of offenses. He's able to provide a little bit more for the running back, especially with a short passing game. But Adrian Peterson, at this point of his, there's a reason why he wasn't on the team. It's not because he didn't want to sign with anybody. It's because nobody wanted him. So they're getting him more so for, it's like a safety valve. They're going to go with Chris Thompson. They're going to go with Rob Kelly. Peterson's going to get his, 8 to 10 carries. But I don't expect Adrian Peterson to average anywhere between 16 to 20 carries. And for those of you that think about fantasy football, I wouldn't do it. Maybe if it's the last round, you want to take a flyer on somebody, then do it. But personally, he's not going to be a guy that's going to come in. He's not going to rush for 800 yards. He might rush for 500 or 600. Not going to rush for 800 yards. It'd be cool if he did. That'd be a hell of a story. I'd be the first one to say I was wrong. But he's not going to rush for 800. He's not going to get you 10 touchdowns. But that's why I do like him. I do like Adrian Peterson on the 3rd and 1s, goal line. But he's still not going to get 10 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? So they're just covering their bases. Adrian Peterson, obviously the veteran, future Hall of Famer, past 2,000-yard rusher, almost got the record. But his glory days are over, sad to say. If you guys remember Emmitt Smith, his last couple years with Dallas was kind of like, it's time for you to go. And then he went to the Cardinals. The Cardinals love getting these running backs. Now they got David Johnson now. Don't get me wrong, David Johnson's a beast. That dude's probably, if not the best running back, somewhere in the top three right now in the league. But the Cardinals, man, he's getting these old running backs. Emmitt Smith last year, Adrian Peterson because of the David Johnson injury. Oh man, the list goes on and on. But I hope he does great. But he's not going to be breaking any 80-yard runs anytime soon. But I think it's a good signing just to cover their bases. I think Samaje Perine, once he comes back, and Rob Kelly, especially with Chris Thompson, that's enough. But Adrian Peterson, let's see what he provides. But that's what comes out today. He signs that 1-year deal. Leonard Floyd, in that game against the Denver Broncos, he hurt his hand. He had surgery yesterday, but they said it's not going to be something where he's out any of the games, which is that's a man right there. You had surgery on a broken hand, and you going to play in 3 weeks. Man, more power to you. But that's the update on Leonard Floyd. Should be ready for Week 1 against the Green Bay Packers, against Aaron Rodgers, and they're going to need Leonard Floyd to try to go get Aaron Rodgers that Week 1 game. But all hands on deck, literally. But another little note, side note, nothing about the games, but, well, kind of. So the Panthers and the Dolphins played, was it Friday? And Christian McCaffrey broke this 72-yard run for a touchdown, man. He just upped the gut and then just burnt everybody. He's got the speed. Now, can he break tackles? That remains to be seen. But he's got the speed to burn these dudes. But that's not what I'm getting at. So they had that little highlight on an Instagram post. And Ndamukong Suh, who was a Miami Dolphin before he got released in March, put a little comment on that video. And he said something to, I'm paraphrasing, wow, right up the gut. Kind of like, if I was there, that wouldn't have happened. So he's kind of sticking it, poking a little fun at his old team. But this is how I view it. This is kind of going back to the whole Kelvin Benjamin, Carolina Panthers thing. Like, get over it, dude. Like, you didn't do nothing with the Dolphins at all. You signed a 6-year, $114 million deal 3 years ago. Okay? 6-year, $114 million deal. After the Lions didn't want to sign you for some odd reason, which, don't get me wrong, Ndamukong Suh, the first 2 years with the Lions, was a beast. But I think it was more so his actions towards the end of plays that made him, scary. It was what he was going to do to you after he tackled you. It was the extra that he was bringing to the field. So he signs that deal with the Dolphins, and in the 3 years he's there, he doesn't ever get more than 6 sacks. And I understand he plays on the interior. It's harder for them to get sacks. It's more so for disrupting the middle, blowing up the middle, and stopping the run. But if you're still an elite defensive tackle, like an Aaron Donald, you have to get at least 8 sacks and above to prove, especially with that contract, man, dude. So you cannot act like, now they had that one playoff run in those 3 years he was there, but nothing, again, never had more than 6 sacks. Last year only had 4.5 sacks. So for him to make that comment and kind of like, if I was there, no, there's a reason why you're not there. They paid you like a superstar. You got the same kind of contract Von Miller has. Now, Von Miller shows out. He's good for 12 sacks every year, and he's going to disrupt. That's what Von Miller does. Von Miller's got a Super Bowl ring. You don't even got a playoff victory, man. So you can't be going over here and, making comments, acting like you was a big deal in Miami, because you weren't. Not for what you were paid. Now, had you had like a 4-year, $20 million deal, you had pretty good seasons. But you were paid like you were the best defensive player in football when you weren't even a Pro Bowler but 1 year. Okay, so that's what I don't like about Ndamukong Suh, acting like he's something special. And, there's going to be some good conversation to see if he's actually going to be in a Pro Football Hall of Fame. I don't think so, bro. I don't see it. That's just me personally. Unless these next couple years of the Rams are just incredible, I don't see it. So it's going to be cool to see what he actually does with that defense in the Rams with Wade Phillips running things, because Wade Phillips, he brings out the best in everybody, and especially they have a lot of talent on that defense. So there's not going to be any excuses on Ndamukong Suh's side. But man, don't be doing these little side things because you didn't do nothing for the Dolphins at all. But that's all I got to say about Ndamukong Suh, because he might jump through this thing and try to eat me or do something to me, because that dude's scary. I'm serious, man. When I first saw him at Nebraska, I'm like, what the heck is that? Man, that dude was crazy. And he did that for the first couple years with the Lions. But after that, I ain't seen none of that. And I'm just keeping it real, man. Let's get on the field. And I'm talking about just one particular game. I talked about Patrick Mahomes earlier, kind of like in a, how I should have been talking about football, but I was talking about the rule. But Patrick Mahomes, oh my goodness. That dude has an arm like nothing. He threw that 70-yard. Now, it was a 69-yard touchdown pass, but he threw that thing in the air at least 70 yards. Tyreek Hill ran the last 4, but he threw it like it was nothing. So he went back. He rolled up into the pocket, and he was just like, wait. And it looked like the play was supposed to go somewhere else. And it didn't go nowhere else. And he was like, you know what? Tyreek Hill just burnt all these dudes. And he just threw it like nothing. Boom. Perfect. On a dime. Tyreek Hill right in the breadbasket. Touchdown. That was amazing. Man, that dude. Remember, the Kansas City Chiefs, they traded up last year to go up to number 10 to get Patrick Mahomes. Not to draft Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was drafted a few selections later by the Texans. Remember that. Patrick Mahomes was drafted before Deshaun Watson. So he's going to have to show out. Because if not, they're always going to talk about, well, shouldn't Deshaun Watson have gone before Patrick Mahomes? But Patrick Mahomes can keep the crowd quiet if he's able to provide these kind of plays. Patrick Mahomes, man, it scares me a little bit as a Bronco fan. I know he's going to have his ups and downs because this is going to be his first full year. Let's keep it real, and maybe not, because Deshaun Watson, that last year, I don't know what to expect now. These rookie quarterbacks are crazy. But he's not a rookie, but he is. It's just going to be his first full year as a starter with expectations very high, with all the weapons they have. Man, I see a lot of good things from Patrick Mahomes. And again, as long as I think the biggest issue with Patrick Mahomes is he has my arm's too great, so I'm going to force it sometimes, which he can learn from. But some quarterbacks do not learn from that, And those quarterbacks stay in the middle of the pack because they don't know when to hold it back, So Patrick Mahomes, things are looking good. Beautiful pass. Again, it's preseason, but still, we'll see what happens during the season. Speaking of Deshaun Watson, if there was any questions as if to see if he was going to do anything, well, he showed you on his first drive. He took that thing and right down the field. Beautiful passes, right on the money. He went 5 for 8, 73 yards and a touchdown. Dude, Deshaun Watson is going to be crazy this year. There's not going to be any ill effects, and I hope there isn't, because I like to see these players full force. I love to see some great NFL football, and Deshaun Watson was looking great for the little bit that he played. And the Texans, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially with those receivers, that quarterback. And they were playing against the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo. He looked better than Deshaun Watson. Oh, my goodness. I knew I saw something in that dude. My pops, man, he's watching. He saw something in that dude for a long time. He's like, the Denver Broncos should have got Jimmy G. Man, you right. But that's a different story. But Garoppolo was awesome on Saturday against that Houston Texans defense. Went 10 for 12. How many yards he put up? 136. Had a touchdown. Had a pick. But it wasn't his fault because it went off the receiver's hands. But dude was 10 for 12. And he went down there and he was driving the Niners like it was nothing. Man, that dude's the real deal. I'm telling you, man, the 49ers are going to be in the playoffs. And Jimmy G is going to be one of them MVP candidates. Deshaun Watson is going to be one of them MVP candidates. Man. And what can I say? Yes, I just made that little vocal sound. Because I'm just, everything that I thought of, and I'm seeing it, like Jimmy Garoppolo, That's a quarterback for you. I don't know what the Patriots were thinking. It makes you think about all the stuff that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady was going at, and then Robert Kraft jumping in. Patriots messed up, man. Like, yeah, they still got the best quarterback in the league, but you could have had the best quarterback in the league still 3 years from now. But now that's not going to happen because Tom Brady's going to be gone, and I don't know who your quarterback's going to be. But that dude for the 49ers, man, he's going to make at least 2 Super Bowls. At least. That's my opinion. But that's a perfect quarterback. He does everything right. And he hangs out with porn stars. Man, that's the dude. That's a little extracurricular activity. I thought the dude was married, but that doesn't matter. Man, live your life, man. Do what you got to do. You over there in Cali now, you know what I'm saying? But these quarterbacks looking good. Man, these new quarterbacks going to send the NFL to a whole different level. They was looking wonderful. Man, what's my next topic? Oh, speaking of quarterbacks. And just on the little Denver Bronco, I wasn't going to talk about it, but Case Keenum looked a little bit better. They finally got first downs, scored some points. He's just slightly off with his receivers. He's not making any mistakes. He's just slightly off, overthrowing receivers. But that's going to take time because it's a new offense, a new quarterback. They got to get like this. These receivers, and if the Broncos can get that thing cooking, that's going to be a force to be reckoned with too, because they're just that much. They're that much. But y'all see what I'm talking about during the regular season. I'm not going to give away any secrets, but man, they're almost there. Let me get to another quarterback. He's not a starting quarterback, but he should be on this particular team. And I'm talking about Teddy Bridgewater. Yes, they drafted Sam Darnold. Rightfully so. He's the future. And they got Josh McCown, who started last year. But Teddy Bridgewater is a starting quarterback in the NFL. And he needs to be starting somewhere. Now, there's reports, rumblings that there are teams interested in trading for Teddy Bridgewater. But if you think about it, if you look at the landscape of the NFL, where can Teddy Bridgewater have a fair shot to start? I started thinking about it. Now, I'll just run through some teams. The Redskins, no. I mean, they signed Alex Smith to that long deal. He won't start there. And I'm not going to go through every team in divisions, but just teams that you would probably think of. The Arizona Cardinals, no, because he already had that battle with Sam Bradford, so it wouldn't make sense to put him on that team again. Obviously, and plus they got Josh Rosen, so they're just waiting to give the keys to Josh Rosen. Sam Bradford played good though in the preseason. Man, he played real good. He was 6 for 6. Dude is like great when it comes to percentage, and he just does what he does. So the Cardinals, man, they're gonna be that dark bird team, dark horse. But back to Bridgewater, so no for the Cardinals. What are the teams that I have in mind? The Cleveland Browns, no, because they got Tyrod Taylor and Baker Mayfield. The Buffalo Bills, and Buffalo Bills. If they were smart, but they're not, Hence the reason why they signed A.J. McCarron and then drafted Josh Allen. Speaking of A.J. McCarron, broke his collarbone. So Josh Allen, you're going to start. Here's your hopes and wishes. You're starting week 1. Now, if the Bills were smart, you'd probably wait on that decision and maybe let Peterman start week 1 because he has the experience. But it doesn't look like that. It's looking like Josh Allen is going to play the Ravens week 1. Get your Ravens defense for fantasy football because that's not going to look good for Josh Allen. I'm calling it right now. He's going to throw 3 interceptions. The Bills are going to score like 9 points. Get that defense. Get the Ravens defense. I'm telling you, Josh Allen's going to start, man. It sucks for A.J. McCarron, though, because he got signed and he was looking to be the starter to start off the season. Broke collarbone. Not going to happen anymore. But Teddy Bridgewater would fit on that team, but they won't do that because they got Josh Allen. So I'm sticking with the AFC East. And I have 2 teams. The New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. Obviously not the Jets because he's on the Jets right now. If they were smart, he'd be starting, but they're not smart. Sam Darnold didn't play that. He looked like a rookie last week, which he is, but you don't want that. So if he gets traded, like I said, Dolphins, Patriots, to me would be the best option because Tannehill, he shows flashes, but he's always hurt. And is he the actual long-term answer? He's like 4 years older than Teddy Bridgewater. Bridgewater's 25. Man, if you're the Dolphins, you pull that trigger. And you say, you know what, you're the backup for now, but if anything happens to Tannehill, or if he doesn't produce, he's yanked, and you're the quarterback forever. Well, not forever, but, until someone else better comes up, or unless you just choke. But I doubt that. Teddy Bridgewater looks like he's ready to start. And then the New England Patriots. Obviously, Tom Brady's there. But at 25 years old, you can say, you know what, Brady can play this year or next year. And then, boom, by the time he retires, Bridgewater's 27, you got your quarterback. You got your quarterback. And along the way, you're drafting quarterbacks in case he's not your quarterback. But to me, seems like the right fit with those two teams because the Bengals won't do it because they like their players and their coaches too much. It doesn't matter how bad they play. They're going to keep the same quarterback and the same coach. The Ravens, they're playing tonight against the Colts. So you can see Lamar Jackson tonight. But obviously they drafted Lamar Jackson. They got Joe Flacco, who I think is a pretty good quarterback. Pittsburgh Steelers, I still think Ben Roethlisberger is going to play for 3 or 4 more years. So they got that covered. The Browns, already talked about that. Look at the AFC West. Broncos, maybe. I mean, Case Keenum, 2-year deal. But I kind of feel you're signing the same kind of quarterback. So, just let Case Keenum be the starter. If you bring Teddy Bridgewater, that's going to bring too much conversation. Broncos do not want to get into that thing again. Kansas City Chiefs, no. Patrick Mahomes. Derek Carr for the Raiders, no. Though I think he's not as good as what other people think. The Chargers, possibly. Phillip Rivers, 1 or 2 more years left. That would be a good spot for him. And then the AFC North, Tennessee Titans, no. You got Mariota. The Jaguars, I would because I don't trust Bortles too much. I would rather have Bridgewater than Bortles, but they won't do that. They gave him the contract. It is what it is. Colts, again, Andrew Luck. He's there, but can he hold up? Colts aren't going to do that. And the Texans, you got Deshaun Watson. So, I mean, right now, best case scenario, he's going to be a backup somewhere. But the best options for him to be backup are in the same division. So look out for that. Do the Jets trade him in the same division if he's traded at all? But that dude has to play. If the Jets were smart, he needs to be the starter for that team. If they want to win games, I don't care. Sam Darnold can sit for 2 years. The dude's not ready. Let Teddy Bridgewater play for this year. See what happens. Go from there. But that's my outlook on Teddy Bridgewater. I think that dude's a starting quarterback. I think he's not a top 15 quarterback, but he can be in the top 20, 22 range. I mean, that's good, man. To say that I think he's better than 10 starting quarterbacks right now, that's high praise. Just personally, I do think he's like 22-ish. So he needs to be starting. I understand he's going to work his way back up. The Jets will not start him. If they're smart, they will. And last thing I'm going to talk about are these rookie quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, again, they play tonight against Colts. Continue progressing. He needs to make better decisions today. He's obviously going to take off and run, but needs to complete the ball and not have so many incompletes or overthrows. Sam Darnold, again, he was 8 for 11 for 62 yards, but it was a lot of dump-off passes and some ugly throws. And then he had that interception. And more so than the stats, he just held on to the ball too much. Getting sacked, not knowing where to go with the ball, decision making. And he was going against the ones, so you can kind of see what he was going to go get into week 1. So that's the thing the Jets got to think about. Josh Rosen, he got a little bit of play with the ones, and he looked pretty good. He was 10 for 16, 107, and a touchdown. And that touchdown drive was wonderful. He threw the touchdown to Christian Kirk. Watch out for that combination in the future. I don't know how close, but look out for that combination in the future. Josh Rosen not looking too bad whatsoever. Baker Mayfield, again, pretty average, nothing too great, nothing too bad. 7 for 13, 75 yards. He produced a little bit more than Tyrod Taylor, but Tyrod's going against the ones. That Bills defense is still pretty good. And Baker Mayfield was going against the two, so he taking, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. So he's just doing what he's supposed to do. And then Josh Allen played a little bit better. He's still throwing these little short passes. He was 9 for 13, 60 yards. Did have a touchdown, so no mistakes. And again, that's what I've spoken on before with Josh Allen. I expect at times to him to have nearly perfect games, depending on the competition, and then sometimes to have games where he's like, this dude isn't even the backup. But again, that's my opinion. That's what I feel about these rookie quarterbacks. So if I just sit back and look, I'm still with Josh Rosen. I'm still with the thought that Josh Rosen, at the end of the day, is the best quarterback that came out of this group. And then it remains to be seen who's number two. Could it be Baker Mayfield? Possibly. That's what it's looking like right now. But you have to look at the progression of Lamar Jackson and Sam Darnold, because I'm not putting Josh Allen there. And you're going to see it week one if and when they do start him against the Baltimore Ravens. That's putting somebody in the fire. And that just sucks that AJ McCarron got hurt, because they might be forced to do that. But again, if I was the Bills, I would think about putting Nathan Peterman in. Maybe bring Josh Allen in the third or fourth quarter. But, oh, man, I don't know. Things are getting cooking in the NFL. I ain't got much more than that. There was a lot of games over the weekend, but I wasn't going to break down every single game. It's preseason. We'll wait for the regular season to break everything down. I'm just breaking down the things that are really important to me and what I feel would be important to the landscape of the NFL. Little side notes or whatnot. But again, I appreciate you guys joining me here on the Fast Break Sports Hour. This is the Fast Break Sports Hour. Just search it on YouTube as the Fast Break Sports Hour. Okay. Find out how to spell it. You look at it here, or go to my Instagram at Fast Break, FAZBRAYKE. That all rhymes, but look for it there. I'll have the links in there too. So all you gotta do is go to that. I'm always posting the updates on Instagram, so from there you get to hear. It's pretty simple. That's how this thing works. I also post the link on Facebook. Again, I appreciate any of you that are watching, even if it's just one. It's okay. I love it. Thank you for joining me again today. This is the Fast Break Sports Hour, and I should be back on tomorrow, man. See what happens today in sports. We got some things to talk about. That's how we do it. I'm out. Fast Break Sports Hour. Thank you. Raw tonight, Monday Night Football, Dodgers and Cardinals. Y'all better get tuned, sit back in your seat, and watch some sports.